Born in darkness, forged in darkness. Thus is the way of this spellcaster. Find out what's going on as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So it's time for another Spotlight Cache Roulette, and this week we've got Malekith. Malekith is the cruel and spiteful leader of the Dark Elves, a race of beings that have thrived in the primordial darkness long before even the Big Bang. He was born the 13th son of a 13th son, and is known as the Lord of the Wild Hunt. He carries the Hunting Horn of Faerie, and can use it to summon a pack of war dogs when he wants to track someone down who is weakened. These hounds have the ability to track down any foe by just sensing the target's fear alone. Malekith learned to use magic by becoming an apprentice to a wizard. He was the most natural spellcaster that the wizard had ever seen, and even surpassed him as a wizard, and is now the most powerful magician of his kind. He was forged in the tragedy of war, and fully understands the reason for them. So he allied with Loki to fight on behalf of the fire demon Surtur, claiming that war forged the soul of a dark elf, and that as long as one elf lived, there would always be war. Malekith led his people into war against the Asgardians in an attempt to revert the universe back to a state of complete darkness. He was thought to have been wiped out with the rest of his race in the final battle, but survived, and after millennia in a prolonged hibernation, he returned to his former home, where his people now embraced him with a new blind devotion, treating him as a god who would lead them back to the power they had enjoyed prior to the creation of this current universe. Malekith has grown a hateful personality during his time in exile, and is deeply embittered by the losses he has faced. He now not only seeks the destruction of Asgard, but of the entire universe. He is the most ruthless of his species. Even though he might seem to care about the survival of the Dark Elves, in truth he has, and will sacrifice, as many of his own men as needed, if he thinks there's even a chance that their deaths might help in achieving his goals. Malekith can manipulate great amounts of mystical energy from any number of purposes. He can use this ability to transform himself into a mist-like substance, allowing him to fly through air over great distance, and is also capable of using the same energy to teleport himself across great distances, even between dimensional barriers. Or he can use this mystical energy to generate many powerful blasts of concussive energy for destructive purposes. Malekith is the ruler of the Dark Elves and a powerful caster of dark fae magic. He thrives in primordial darkness and can summon a pack of war dogs to track down someone who is weakened. This is represented in Marvel Snap as when you call upon his aid, he will help you by summoning a pack of war dogs to track down someone who is weakened, and then help them survive in the primordial darkness. So in Marvel Snap, what this card does is on reveal, it will add a 1, 2, or 3 cost card from your deck to its location, but that card will not reveal until the end of the game. Now, it only will reveal, it'll only get you one, so it won't get you a 1, a 2, and a 3. It'll get you a 1. If you have no 1s, it'll get you a 2. If you have no 2s, it'll get you a 3. If you have no 1s, 2s, or 3s, it'll get you nothing. As far as I can go through and look through and see through, I had to give this a 2-star. Now, is that the worst thing in the world? Not really, but I was really trying to struggle as to where this card wants to exist. Now, straight off the bat, you'd look at this card and go, it's the thing. It's a 4/6. That's not that good of a power. That's not that good of a toughness. That's not that good of a spike. No one's playing the thing at this point. And on the other hand, you kind of look at this as a Jubilee too, as a Jube 2, if you want to say, to a certain degree. Because it's the same effect as kind of what Jubilee's doing, where it's pseudo-drawing you a card from your deck. But nobody cares about Jubilee to a certain degree. Like, nobody's, like, crying that Jubilee needs a nerf or that Jubilee needs to be looked at. And the problem that you have with Malekith is, by the time you hit turn 4, you might not have any 1s, 2s, and 3s left in your deck. I mean, 1s, 2s, and 3s generally aren't something you throw a ton of into your deck. And then even when you want to get a 1, 2, and 3 in your deck, the chances that there's something that you want at that point is kind of slim to none. See, if you're to look at 1, the best 1 drop that you can get is Ebony Maw. Are you going to throw Ebony Maw on your deck, hoping that you can draw the Malekith before you draw the Ebony Maw? Because if you draw the Ebony Maw before you draw the Malekith, you kind of have a weird situation where you either have a dead card in the hand, or you have a dead spot that you can't use. The best card that you can draw on too is Maximus. That's literally the best card. Now, is that a problem? No, Malekith sometimes is good with Maximus. If you draw Maximus on his own, it's not the end of the world. You can still play it near the end. And kind of have this weird deck where you kind of go heavy into the end, where you're trying to do something where you're doing the Accuser. And then probably the best 3 that you can get is Gladiator. Now, Gladiator sometimes you do want to get on 3, but sometimes I've even played Gladiator late into the game on 4, on 5, on 6, because if the location is full on your opponent's side, Gladiator really doesn't have a quote-unquote downside to it. The problem is that in general, other than those couple of cards, pretty much every 3-drop, the max you're looking at is about 5. So if you were to combine the 6 that you get off of him with the 5 that you get off the average drop that you're looking at roughly 11 there. If you're going with Jubilee, on the other hand, Jubilee doesn't have that big of a downside, and Jubilee on general hits about a 10 on the worst day, sometimes even higher. So with the 10 that you get off the Jubilee, and the 10 you get off the card you draw from Jubilee, and the 1 you get off Jubilee hurt yourself, that'd be 11. So it's roughly about the same level as Jubilee. And when you got cards in the 10s in the 4 slot that are already hitting 10 like Crossbones, it's getting really hard to justify a 6 there. The other problem that you have is the same problem that you have with Jubilee and you have with any other card that summons one other card with it. You have the space issue. And if you're worrying about space, your opponent can take advantage of it. And by the time you play this card, if you don't have a slot for it, if you're already at 3 things in your lane, you legitimately can't play this card into that lane. The other problem that you have is just how few turns you have to have this work, and how this is set up as a work slot. Because it's coming out on the 4 slot, on turn 4 normally, that's when you're hoping to get, unless you're doing some sort of shenanigans to get it out sooner. By the time turn 4 comes around, you start with 4 cards in your hand, so you get your 5th, your 6th, and your 7th. So you've got 7 of your cards in your hand. That means you've got just a few cards left in your deck. You only got 5 left at that point. Do you have one of the 5 cards left in your deck being a 1, 2, and 3. How many are you going to throw in your deck to hit that slot? It's kind of the same problem that you have. The other problem that you have is any kind of problem that comes with Invisible Woman. The thing is that this is doing quote-unquote the Invisible Woman. In fact, you get to see what you hit, so you can kind of know what you are, and you can kind of snap into that effect and maybe get your opponent to retreat. But sometimes when your opponent plays a Invisible Woman, you know that that's the location you either A, need to avoid completely, or B, just simply put like a Cosmo in it sometimes is enough. And the last thing you kind of got to worry about is right now with how the game is running, the Smoke Monster is actually a relatively played card right now. This card is showing a lot up in Searcher decks because you can be ahead on turn 5 going into turn 6. Because of how this card is written, it will remove the effect, the text, that will make the card that you have down completely gone. So if you don't have a card that's good there, you're worried about it. And if sometimes you can even kind of hope into that where you play something bad, like maybe you play a martyr in there and then you don't have to worry about it. Other than those cards this week, we've got 2 other cards. I don't know where they came from. We've got the Valentina. Valentina is not seen play in any way, shape, or form. And we've got the Thena. Thena is one of, if not the best cards that currently exist in the game. You can still, just by having Thena alone, make a deck and have it work well. So you kind of got this toss-up between a really good card and a really poor card. And then this Malekith that is kind of like right in the middle where I'm not sure where it's going to find a place, but I almost gave it a 1, but because it is still draw, anything that is draw, I cannot give just a 1 drop to, a 1 star to. On this particular week, if you have the Athena, I might just skip and see how Malekith does down the road, maybe pick him up later, because rolling and getting the Valentina is going to hurt. We still roll because this is how I make cut it, so let's find out what we've got inside this box. Box says Malekith. Nice. So if you want to see me make a deck of this Friday. If you want to see me make a deck this Friday on the Malekith, you can come watch me do it live. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play full fun.